for your values and fight for your friends. Fight through this blight, find the light at the end. Through the age of the dragon, the people will talk of the day they were saved by a hero named Hawk.
You're listening to Reignite, a podcast that is sometimes difficult to do in today's political climate. I'm Frankie.
And I'm Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon.
Speaking of, let's talk a little about today's political climate. I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of it all because something new happens every day. And if we were to talk about everything that happened, by the time you hear this, something new will have happened.
Yes, probably several new things would have happened.
Yes. The reason why I wanted to talk about it a little bit is because of the nature of our podcast, the nature of who we are as people, and the nature of our audience. We tend to be the people that are most affected by what's going on in today's politics.
Yeah, I mean, our audience is a diverse group of variations of queer, gender fluid, POC. Like, we have a ton of different people across multiple groups that are greatly affected by the bullshit going on right now. And I guess part of it is we don't want you to think we're not acknowledging it because we don't know it's happening, because we do, and it's kind of an overwhelming thing. We've missed recordings for a multitude of reasons, mostly me being sick, but also for mental health reasons in the past. And I can foresee that happening in the future. And I just think it's probably fair to bring up the bullshit that will affect me personally as I live here, and Frankie personally as they have lots of friends and family who live here. So I think it's worth mentioning that we're not unaware of what's going on. We're quite the opposite.
It's overwhelming. It's scary. Matt and I are both dealing with our own mental health. We're dealing with the implications of what every new horror means for us and our families and the people that we love. And it's hard and it's scary. And if you are struggling, if you don't have anyone to turn to, please turn to us, because we understand, and we would so much rather you have someone to talk to than to hold your silence and, suffer even more.
Yeah, the Discord has a channel for venting if you need to just get stuff out there. We also have tons of channels in regards to video games, podcasts, comic books, whatever, if you want to be distracted, and all are welcomed, except anyone who doesn't believe that trans rights are human rights. I don't know that we need to say this at this point of the podcast, because I feel like
that's kind of like
our
podcast.
A podcast hosted by two non-binary folks. It should be obvious, but I'll say it right now. If you support a fascist regime and you don't believe that trans rights are human rights and that we should all have equal rights, you couldn't stop listening now and disappear. But
if you support ICE, get out.
I mean, any of it, but I find it hard to believe that anyone listening
at
to
this
us,
point, no.
Yeah,
I think we have scared them away.
Yeah, I would definitely have had reviews and commenters who in the past might have been shocked that we were like that. But so just...
I do love that one review we got years ago of being like, too woke.
Right. Yeah. And then I think they came back and were like, actually, the podcast is pretty good. I was dumb. And we're like, yeah, you were. But if we're too woke for you, then goodbye. We don't need you. I'm not that concerned about our audience numbers.
I'm mainly concerned about our audience's mental health.
Basically, yes. Yeah.
I am going to say this. My DMs are open. Matt, I don't want to speak for you, but...
I mean, mine are, I'm kind of, not careful isn't the right word, but, flag who you are. I don't accept DMs from strangers that I don't know, but if you flag that you're an audience member or someone, and I'm mostly aware of who's in our audience and who's in the Discord, so, but I am willing to chat with folks, if you need to reach out to someone.
That's very fair. So that being said, let's get into the episode. Okay. Hawk receives a mysterious letter requesting a meeting on the Wounded Coast to save some innocent lives. When Hawk and company arrive, it is Sir Thrask, our Templar acquaintance, whose own mage daughter chose to die rather than live in the circle. Thrask informs Hawk that there are apostate mages hiding in the caverns behind him. They escaped while being transported from Starkhaven to Kirkwall. Thrask begs Hawk to convince the mages to surrender, because if they don't, another Templar who has less room in his heart for mercy will flat out kill them all without giving it a second thought. Through the cavern, Hawk goes to fight many skeletons and come face to face with Decimus, the leader of his band of apostates. Decimus refuses to talk to us, takes us to be Templar allies immediately, and initiates a fight. Once he's dead, Hawk must decide what to do with the remaining mages. Submit them to the circle, or help them flee.
Yeah, if we were both not mages, I'd be like, yes, of course, Hawk has to make a decision about a group of people he has nothing to do with. But I'm a mage, so it makes at least a little more sense. But we'll get to that.
Yeah. Well, okay. So usually when we are forced to make decisions about communities that we are not part of, like, for example, way back when with the Geth.
Yeah.
It's the biggest example. Like, we're not one of you. We're not adequately equipped to make this decision. In this scenario, I feel like it's not quite the same, because we're not being asked to make a monolithic decision for all mages. We're being asked to be a decent person.
True. Though the latter bit will come probably later, but
yeah,
neither here nor there.
Let's get into the story. I chose to start our kind of guide at the gallows because last time we recorded, we actually didn't go talk to Sir Thrask about the letter that we found.
Right.
So that's the first thing I did, because that was the only way for us to get this mission.
Yeah. So fun fact, when I booted up the game to play this mission, the quest, which is the Act of Mercy is the title of, was just a rumor. And I looked at it and I went, well, how do I get the mission? And so then I went to my house. You must have
figured it out, because I didn't get any messages about it.
No. So I then went to my house, and turns out, I think in the last play session, I did this first part, because then when I went to my house, Gamlen's like,
there's a letter waiting for you.
Gamlen's like, I'm not your secretary. There's a letter for you. I'm like, oh, shut up, Gamlen. And
I love when Gamlen's like, you get more mail than I do. What the fuck?
Yeah. It's like, because nobody likes you, Gamlen.
Yeah, be a nicer person. Maybe you'll get some mail.
And so then I found the mission. I was like, okay. But yeah, so refresh the listeners' memories, and not mine, because I totally remember about this part where we give Sir Thrask the letter.
Okay, so the letter that we received was from a female mage who died because she got pressed into a corner by some pirates, and she turned into an abomination because she was distressed and had no other choice.
Right.
And in doing so, she died. So she left behind a letter to her father explaining, like, I know this isn't what you wanted for me, but I had to do what I thought was best. I can't live in the circle. That's just not, like, a safe life for me. And we find out that Sir Thrask is her father.
Yes. And so at this point, when we rejoin Sir Thrask, we can either give him the letter, and we can either keep his secret or use it to blackmail him. And we both, of course, being decent people, chose to keep his secret.
Yeah. Because it's not really his secret.
Right.
Right? Like, it's Olivia's secret. She doesn't deserve to be used as blackmail.
Right. And also, like, of all the Templars we've met, Sir Thrask is actually showing some semblance of compassion, and we don't want to stamp that out, because we want...
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Like, I think making an enemy of Thrask is not a good decision.
Right.
I also don't want us to paint Sir Thrask as being, like, the pinnacle of Templars, like, the best of them.
No.
Because something that pissed me off in this conversation is him saying, my own weakness in the face of her pleas is what destroyed her. No, my man, you leaving her in that warehouse and not helping her find a safer way to escape is what destroyed her. You left her in a dangerous situation because in your mind the options were do nothing to help my kid, or put my kid in a place that will scar her for life.
Right. He's not the pinnacle of good, but he's also the only Templar we've encountered who seems to have any compassion for mages whatsoever. And, like, I just don't want that to go away. And I feel like if we push him too far, it will go away.
Yeah, we will lose him from our side. Right now, he's primed to be radicalized.
Yes.
Basically.
Yes. And after we have this conversation with him, then that's kind of it. And we're off to do our own thing. And that's when we go home and discover we have a letter.
Yes, we have got a letter. We
We
have got a letter.
I don't remember the rest.
A letter. I wonder who it's from.
There it is. Yeah, I couldn't remember the last line. It's been a minute since Blue's Clues. Although, that said, the mail song I could probably sing from memory, and no, I won't do it right now.
I'll do it. Here's a mail, it makes me well, it makes me... No, wait. Here's a mail, it makes me well, it makes
Nope.
me want to wag my tail. When it comes, I want to wail. Mail. Oh, it never fails. That's what it is.
Yeah, the second line is never fails, yeah.
I knew whale was in there somewhere.
Anyway, moving on. So we get a letter that tells us to go to the Wounded Coast, and like, okay, great, Wounded Coast, whatever. I'm
this
tired.
letter is so melodramatic.
Yeah.
Proud scion of the Hawk family.
I mean, it's kissing ass basically in letter form,
Who
which
wrote this
I
letter?
get, right? And so when we go to the Wounded Coast, we're immediately attacked by dragonlings, which for no reason, by the way. There's no dragon's
They're just
nest.
there.
There's no dragon. There's no explanation of the dragonlings. We just fight them there. I don't really know why, but we fight a bunch of dragonlings, and then we head up to the cave to the north, I think it was. North or the east. And Sir Thrask.
What are directions?
I know, in this game especially. And then we talk to Sir Thrask, who is there and tells us there are a bunch of apostate mages in the cave, and he doesn't want it to end in a bloodbath. And can we kindly go in there and bring them out? And, you know, it's one of those things that I'll get to it when we get inside the cave. But yeah, so he asked us to go in and make sure that we see if we can bring the mages out peacefully. He doesn't want to see any more people hurt.
Bethany is so stressed.
Yeah, Anders too.
Like, Bethany's like, this could have been me. This could have been us. What the fuck?
Yeah. I do like here, though, that when I agree to help Sir Thrask try and bring this to a nonviolent conclusion, they just cut to Anders smiling a little bit. Like, he doesn't actually even say anything. And I thought that was actually kind of cute. And so what's really funny to me is after this, after we agree to help and we go in, we're immediately attacked. And I was like,
yeah,
you don't want there to be a bloodbath, but they're already trying to kill me. I don't know what to do here. It's the kind of irony that a BioWare game sets up of like, I'd like this to be a non-violent solution, or I'd like to solve this peacefully. Immediately there's violence.
Yes. Well, we're straight up attacked by skeletons and one mage. They've raised the dead. Anders is also upset, and he's like, they must be really desperate.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we meet Alan, who desperately wants to go back to the circle.
Yeah, he's like, stop, don't hurt me. I didn't do anything. Literally want nothing to do with this. I want to go anywhere but here. I do not want to be a blood mage.
So we find out from Alan that Decimus has used blood magic to protect them because the Templars are just going to assume that they're blood mages anyway because they escaped.
This logic kills me. Well, if they expect us to be blood mages, we might as well be blood mages. It's like, well, if you're going to assume I'm a Nazi, I guess I'll be a Nazi. It's like, no, that's not how life works.
Yes, you are correct, but also I can somewhat see the path of this logic, which is we're going to be persecuted for a thing that we didn't do. So we might as well use it to our advantage. Like, if we're going to be persecuted anyway, we might as well use the weapon.
Well, and I guess I understand that up until the point where... I
don't agree with it, but
right.
I see the path of the logic.
I see the path of the logic, but I also disagree with it the immediate moment in which I need to cut my hand open to use the magic and possibly become possessed. Like, that's... Yeah. I have my limits.
Like, it's just outrageous that the second a mage is out of view from a Templar, it's questionable now. Like, oh, you could be an abomination now. I have no way of knowing. I wasn't watching you the whole time.
Even though the abominations look completely different from normal humans, but we won't even get into that.
Not always.
Oh,
sometimes they hide within a human form, and
that's true.
So like.
All right.
Let's be lore accurate.
All right. Anyway, we comfort Alan, and we tell him that if he goes outside, there's a Templar who is waiting to peacefully bring the mages back to the circle. So if he goes outside, he'll be safe.
Yeah, honestly, look, man, if you want to go to a circle, I'm not going to stop you. Like, that's your decision. You're a grown up.
My logic is more, I'll argue with you about it later, but get out of my way so I can kill the real problem.
I'm more like, yeah, Thrask is outside waiting. Just go be safe.
But then after this, we fight our way through the one of the cave maps again. I hate these maps. And I have a specific complaint
Blame
at the
Cassandra.
end.
She's not very inventive.
No, yeah, I guess so. It's her lack of imagination.
Exactly.
But the minute we get to
She
Decimus,
visited one cave when she was in Navarra, and that is the setting for everything from then on.
when we get to Decimus, there is no conversation. He immediately decides that we are Templar associates and summons demons and skeletons to try and kill us, and we have to fight him and a bunch of other mages.
Well, we don't have to fight that many mages.
Oh,
It's
that's
mainly
true. It's just
Decimus.
him and then a bunch of skeletons and stuff.
Yeah. So I think there's like one other mage.
Yeah.
But it's mostly skeletons. I don't remember if there are demons, but everybody else kind of just like moves out of the way because Grace tries to talk him down.
Right. Grace says something and he's like, no, they must die, and then fight.
Yeah, Grace tries to talk him down. She's like, they are clearly not Templars. You need to stop. But Decimus is so lost in the sauce of blood magic that he's so deeply paranoid.
Yes.
That everyone that is not one of his people must be a danger.
Yeah. And so we have to fight him and kill him and the skeletons.
And it is sad.
Yeah. And then immediately after, Grace, seemingly his partner, pleads for us to stop and wants to talk to us. And explains that they were backed into a corner and Decimus felt like he had no choice. And she didn't agree with his choice, but she also understood why he did it. But she does not want further bloodshed. They want to get away. They want a peaceful outcome. They just want to escape.
Yeah. Like, Decimus gave his people courage, which is admirable. But choosing blood magic just puts them in further danger, which was not necessary.
Yeah.
So it's because he lost himself to the blood magic, he couldn't see the people who were there to help.
Yeah.
And his life didn't have to be forfeit. He could have survived.
Yeah.
She does ask the mages in the group, how could you fight your own? But yeah, these guys only want their freedom, you know? So
yeah.
She suggests that we kill Thrask in order to get them out.
Right. And I say, I won't kill him, but I will help you escape. And she goes, then you must tell him that we're dead. You know, tell him that we were killed so they don't come looking for us.
Yeah. When I tell her, like, I'll, like, convince him that you guys are gone, don't worry about it. And she's like, I don't think that will work, but okay.
Yeah. She basically says, unless you tell him we're dead, they won't believe it. And more on that in a minute. Oh, by the way, we haven't talked about it to this point, but who did you bring with you?
Anders, Bethany, and Varric.
Anders, Carver, and Isabella. Carver, when I say I won't kill Thrask, Carver pipes up, well, we just can't go killing more Templars. That's not the right solution either. I mean, Carver's not entirely wrong, but still, like, I don't like how much he's been defending the Templars lately. Or, like, anyway.
This is your fault.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because
it's your fault for being the favorite.
Carver says at one point, he's like, well, we don't know that they're not abominations. They're not, like, you know, it's not like you and Bethany. And I was like, okay, keep my dead sister's name out of your mouth. And also, we're helping them.
Wow, you and Carver.
Anyway.
All right, so I am so annoyed that there isn't a quick exit.
Nope. Oh, so yeah, that was what I was.
You have to fight more skeletons.
This was my complaint. Is like some missions in this game, when you finish the dungeon, you can leave right away, and then others like this one, you have to walk all the way back through the cave the way you came in, and fight more skeletons on the way out. Who's summoning them? You killed the apostates.
I think the thought process is when Decimus summoned, he like brought them all back.
Anyway, it's dumb. We shouldn't have to walk.
Let's blame Decimus.
We don't have to. The thing that kills me, though, is in the map design, there are stone doors that like come up that you can walk through. There's one right by the boss room that looks like it was designed to be the exit, but you can't click on it. Instead, you have to walk all the way through the cave, and it's just it's
and you have to fight skeletons again.
bad dungeon design. There should always be a quick escape. This is stupid.
Yes, it made me so angry. And we emerge to find Sir Karis yelling at Thrask and already worked up.
Yeah, and then there's video like, who the fuck are you?
So what did you do?
So I tried to lie that they were dead and that they weren't in there. And then Crass goes, well, I guess we better go have a look. And I basically go, you can't go look. You're not allowed. And he went, they're lying, kill them all. And so...
That's very accurate to you, though.
Yes. And so then I fight all the Templars, but Thrask fights on my side. And after we defeat all the Templars, then the mages come out. And Thrask agrees to say that they all died in the like they died fighting the Templars, and they all killed each other basically. And and Alan and Thrask are the only survivors after this great battle, which was interesting. That not only he was very upset by the outcome, but he also understood that like explaining the truth would just make things worse, and he just wants the violence to stop. And so he agrees to just bring Alan back and stop it there, not incriminate us, not incriminate the other mages, and let them escape. And then Grace thanks us for our help.
Not the worst outcome.
No, it just was very funny of like someone asking me to lie, and I'm a notably bad liar, and go, they're not there. And he goes, I don't believe you. Well, you can't go in.
You can't go in. You're not allowed. It's too dangerous.
And then fight. Yeah, that was a very me outcome.
Yeah. I turned to my good friend Varric and was like, tell him who we are.
Yeah.
My favorite dynamic between those two idiots is anytime they get into trouble, Hawk turns to Varric. Who are we?
Yeah. What happened? Tell him a story.
And the story is that Hawk is a Templar that was invited by the Knight Commander to handle this issue, went in, killed all of them, and any that are left fled to the coast.
Yeah.
And Varric, perfect liar that he is, sells the story so well that Karis is like, oh, thank you for your service. Okay, let's go to the coast and find them. And then Grace comes out and is like, I can't believe you pulled that off. Okay, here's my stick.
And Hawk basically goes, I can't either. Great job, Varric.
And then Grace gives us her staff, and then they go.
Yeah, and then I gave her staff to Anders because my staff is better because I have the special chest in our house that has all the DLC gear.
Yeah. I have to double check. I don't think I did anything with it yet. I have to go through my inventory and update things.
I have encountered with my new robe, though, a problem that over my right shoulder, the shoulder pad is so long and pointy that it cuts into like character photos that I take. So all my screenshots over the right shoulder are useless because there's just a big old thing in the middle of their body. Anyway.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So that's really it for main quests. Our next episode is going to be kind of wrapping everything up. Fetch quests, minor things. Let's see, what do I have? Yeah, so we have a whole list of little things like following up with the person who hired us in order to get us into the city. Some stray fetch quests. We also have the DLC quest, which I think we should roll in. No, never mind. Well, we can talk about it in episode 8.
Yes.
And I think also, as part of this next episode, we have something called Friends in Low Places.
Okay.
Which maybe we should move. We'll talk about it. But yeah, so wrapping things up.
Basically doing everything that's not the main quest to go on the expedition.
Everything that's not a big old story.
Yeah.
So, and then we will be on to the Deep Roads expedition by episode 19.
Yep. And before we go into Fandom Corner, we've gotten a bunch of messages. First of all, I just want to thank folks like Troidal Power and of course Callie for engaging in some awesome conversation over on the Discord about this game, about other stuff. Also, shout out to Troidal Power for finishing Dragon Age 2 in the interim while we were off. And I never get tired of people's absolute overreaction to stuff that happens in the game because this game's ending is completely wild.
Okay. So the other thing I want to talk about, in lieu of Fandom Corner, harking back to how we started the episode, I would like to invite you to visit Lambda Legal's website, especially if you or a loved one is a trans person concerned about their rights moving forward in today's administration. I would also really appreciate it if folks would share any additional resources they might have on our Discord server. Community is all we have right now, so let's do what we can to protect it.
Yeah, please. And if you have any questions or need more info, I will grab Lambda Legal's website to put in the show notes. Yeah. Also, Frankie and I are looking to expand Fandom Corner. Of course, if you make stuff related to BioWare games, stuff on Etsy, you have your own shop, let us know. Hit us up via email or the Discord. We're happy to share your stuff with the community. But also, Frankie and I might use this as an opportunity to not only share people making stuff about these games and BioWare games, but maybe stuff that we're into, other fandoms that kind of run parallel to this fandom, other games we're into. Frankie and I have been, over the last many years, recommending games to each other, usually having to do with romance and relationship building that also has you kill stuff. And so this might be a good section to share that too. So I guess just let us know what you think. If you would like us to expand the section a bit and make it more than just, hey, go buy a thing, let us know, because I think that's the direction we'd like to head with it. But we're always curious what you guys think as well.
Honestly, I think it might veer into game recommendations from you and book recommendations for me.
That too, yeah. So anyway, with that, as Frankie said earlier, the next episode will be a kind of side quest roundup. I don't think there's a definitive outline to follow here. Like, just clean up all the smaller side quests. We're going to talk about the more meaty ones. We're not going to go into great detail about every single one, since some of them are a little fetch questy. But we mostly want to clean up everything so we can go into the end of Act 1.
Yeah. So next episode, we're probably just going to talk about anything that stood out to us as funny or interesting or lore relevant.
Yes. So make sure you get caught up on all that, unless you're Troidal Power, because you've already finished the game.
All right. That's it. If you like what you heard here, you can follow us on social media. We're at ReignitePod on Blue Sky, YouTube, and Instagram, or you can send us an email at reignitepod@gmail.com. You can also find us on Blue Sky as Frankie B. Writes and DJ Stormageddon. As we said earlier, our inboxes are open, but do let us know who you are before you send us a message.
Yes, helpful to have some kind of just little introduction. It can be as simple as, hey, I'm a listener, or hey, I'm a friend of Frankie's, or hey, I know, whatever it is. So, yeah. All that said, also, please rate and review and subscribe on your favorite podcast if you can. It helps us get seen so other people can find this podcast. And so when they go searching on Apple Podcasts for Act of Mercy, they don't find some religious podcast. They can find us and our blasphemous ways.
By the way, friend of Frankie is like friend of Dorothy, except indicating that you are a gay person. It indicates that you are a BioWare obsessed person.
Yes, exactly. I want to get that started. Just start telling people that you're a friend of Frankie. If you don't want to admit to being a BioWare fan, but like it runs deep. We didn't talk about it earlier in the episode, so I'm just going to insert it here randomly. But BioWare had a bunch of layoffs because apparently the Veilguard not being a live service game is why EA thinks it failed because they're idiots. It sold like 1.5 million copies or something, but that wasn't enough. The optimism I have to which we'll get a Mass Effect 5 dwindles every day, but they're not dead yet. So
yeah. I'm going to be writing a paper about Dragon Age the Veilguard for my PhD thesis, actually.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not joking, because I want to talk about the reason it wasn't as successful as, for example, Baldur's Gate.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And there are a lot of
perceived as successful.
Right. So anyway, I probably should have mentioned this earlier, but I'm mentioning it now. It sucks, of course. It sucks to see people from that team, and also to see the corporate language of we're becoming a more agile studio. Yeah, that means you laid a bunch of people off or reassigned them.
Gross.
Anyway.
That's a gross thing to say.
Yeah, so our hearts go out for the devs who lost their gigs or got moved to places they don't want to be. But I still want there to be another Mass Effect, but I don't know that we're going to get it. But I guess only time will tell. Anyway, that spiel aside, Frankie, what podcast network are we a member of?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked, because we're members of the Certain Point of View network. Visit certainpov.com to find more nerdy podcasts, each with a unique point of view. You can also find a permanent link to our Discord server on the website, so you can join the conversation.
Smooth transition. Nothing smoother. As for personal plugs, the big stuff for me is, of course, this podcast, and I am still hosting Fun and Games with the incredible Jeff Moonen. We do our SideQuest series, which allows different folks to talk about a game they love and why they love it. Short-form series within that feed as well. I've been doing more writing. I'm trying to write a game review every month because I think it'll be easier than creating a article with a thesis out of thin air, which was harder, although more interesting, I think. But
you can't just spit out 10,000 words?
I mean, I can, but there's a lot of hemming and hawing before I get there. But anyway, so I was lucky enough to get a review code for Citizen Sleeper 2, one of my most anticipated game of the year. And so I wrote a review of that over on the Patreon, patreon.com/funandgamespod. It's free to read for anyone. You don't even need to be a member. You don't even have to join at the free level to read it. So please go check it out. If you like books and you like video games that are basically books, you should play Citizen Sleeper 1 and 2 because it's some of the best writing in video games, full stop. And I can't recommend them enough. So yeah, go check that stuff out. And then if you've forgotten all of those things I just said, just go to djstormageddon.com, and that has all my Linktree links.
As for me, I am struggling through depression and a thesis. Look, man, I'm doing my best. That's it. That's all I have.
You're just a
I'm
little
just
guy.
a little guy.
You're just a little guy doing your best.
I am. Also, if you would like to send me $5, you can do so on PayPal at Frankie B. Writes. Thank you.
Yes. If you'd like to send me $5, you can do it via the Patreon. Although we don't have a $5 tier. We only have a $3 and $7 tier, but you know.
You should get the $5 tier. That is Buy Frankie Coffee.
No, actually, maybe it's 3, 5, and 10. I don't remember. It's been a while since I subscribed to our own Patreon, which I don't actually do. It's been a while since I set up the Patreon, I should say. Anyway, we to thank the one and only Case Aiken for designing some awesome t-shirts you can find at certainpv.com or on the Certain POV Teespring. And of course, thank you to Case for designing each episode's individual show art, especially for a game that I do not believe at this point he's anywhere near where we are, and so relies on our vibes and screenshots to make them. So thank you, Case.
The vibes. They are what they are. All right. We'd like to thank Miracle of Sound for our theme music. It's awesome and we love it.
And of course, we'd like to thank the one and only Red Spinks for our Dragon Age inspired logo. To see more of his work, you can follow him at KSTart on Instagram.
And lastly, we'd like to thank you for listening. I'm Frankie.
And I am Matt, aka Stormageddon. And remember, all Templars are bastards. Especially Karis.
We hate that guy.
The worst. The worst.
Fight for your values and fight for your friends. Fight through this blight, find the light at the end. Through the age of the dragon, the people will talk of the day they were saved by a hero named Hawk. Hawk, 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 Hawk.
Welcome to No Small Games, the indie gaming recap and review podcast. I'm Kate, also known as Cater Blossom.
And I'm Emily. You might also know me online as The Specific Egg.
And we met streaming and playing video games on Twitch.
At No Small Games, we combine our favorite genres to experience everything the indie game world has to offer and share it with all of you. We believe there are no small games, only small game studios.
Each episode, we'll choose one indie game that we each played separately and discuss our playthrough experience together.
the good, the bad, and our most memorable moments. We'll follow our recap with a review and announcement of which indie game will be featured on our next episode.
We invite you to play each game along with us and would love to hear from you about your playthrough experience.
Hey, Kate.
Hey, Emily.
I hope that No Small Games brings everyone some big fun.
CPOV.
CertainPOV.com.